standards, right education system.
I'm the former Frank Key.
Of the Northwest Pass, we really need somebody different.
Your career, you're used to winning a lot. It was everything to us.
7 or 8 weeks of two-a-days.
They really made me appreciate
We're allowed to win.
he was coming in and would be shooting the whole time.
Let's go back real quick to the Enid Walk of Fame. Of course, we have training in confined space.
Gentlemen, maybe to know a little more.
A good safety tip on that, Steve.
Putting a hat on and getting out there and doing the job.
The television model that you watched growing up.
Houston, this is the International Space Station.
City Connections begins right now.
2018 will mark the 50th year since the assassination and death of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it will also mark the 35th year since the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan. Welcome to City Connections. Today, I have two guests from the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday Commission here in Enid, and that is Commissioner Derwin Norwood, and I have Damon McKinney. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Now, tell us a little bit about the role of the commission.
Well, you know, the commission's main goal is to try to unite the community together. I mean, give everyone an opportunity to share their voice and make sure they're heard because, you know, yeah, we're Enid and so on, but we want to also remind each other that we're neighbors and that we all should be able to get out there and share our values, share our cultures together. And the commission's ultimate ideal goal is to allow everybody to come out and express who they are in an open forum without any repercussions on their ideas and beliefs.
Okay.
I also believe to add to that is that the role of the commission is to always allow us to remember and to reflect. In order to make positive changes, it's very important to know the reason why, you know, you're making those type of changes. So it's not for us to hold anything against anyone or bring up the past, but to reflect on the things that have happened to allow us to be able to make the future brighter and better for everyone.
Okay. Now tell me about your roles on the commission and why you chose to serve on the commission, starting with you.
Well, right now I'm serving as a secretary. I started out as a board member and so on, and it gives me opportunity to also work with several subcommittees that help with the poster and essay contest and judging that, and also using my voice in the schools to help promote the commission and, of course, that contest itself.
My role is I'm the commissioner for the Dr. Martin Luther King Celebration Commission, and I also represent the Southern Heights Community Organization. And as a commissioner, I felt that it was very important that we had a commissioner on this committee. And I've been serving on this committee for, I believe, at least 10 years. And I serve as president for 5 years. And it's just a passion that I have. I enjoy the events and also the interaction with the children, you know, with the poster and essay contests and the celebration, everything about it. I really enjoy it. So since I enjoy it, I continue to serve on the board.
Okay. Now I know that this celebration, as I've said, this marks the 50th year since the assassination and the 35th year since it was a federal holiday. I know that it's celebrated in the United States, but I didn't know this until recently, that it was the message of diversity and equality also celebrated in Japan, Hiroshima, Toronto, Canada, and in the Netherlands for Dr. Martin Luther King. I didn't know that. So why do you feel it is important to celebrate diversity?
I feel that it's very important because not only in other parts of the world, but the foundation of what took place, you know, social injustice and a lack of equal opportunity, that actually took place right here in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know, for something to take place here in the United States like that, a lot of bloodshed, lives been lost, people been hurt, battered, beaten, whatever, what have you. It's very important that since that happened right here, and the founder of celebrating and fighting for justice for people, it would be kind of, I would believe, it wouldn't make sense not to celebrate or to remember or reflect on what has happened in order to move us forward, because that actually took place right here in the United States. So what better place for us to be an example to the world?
And I think, being a citizen of Oklahoma, not just the United States, but, we have our Native American cultures. And, I actually taught at a school in Arkansas where the high school I taught at used to be the segregated white school. And our elementary school used to be our segregated colored school, as they called it. And the thing is, I'd take my seniors and we'd go walk the elementary school, and then I'd have them take lists of what was different about it, and they'd start going, oh my God, they'd really see how much had changed over the years. But the thing is, I think you mentioned about reflection, and the thing is, we've come a long way, but sadly, if we don't go back and explore who we are as a community, and then come back and say, you know what, we still have to keep striving to be better. Because let's be honest, every time we turn on the news, there's something else that's going on that's horrible. And then sadly, sometimes it builds up barriers that we've been trying to break down for the last 50 years. And if we can't talk about it openly, then we're really failing as a community. And so I think that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message, is that, we all need to sit down at the table, break bread, share what we have, and then also be able to discuss our differences openly, and not feel threatened by it, but also do it with a good conscience about how we're talking about it.
Okay. Now I know you guys you have 3 scheduled events for January. Tell me about the first one, the community-wide prayer breakfast. Tell me the significance of the prayer breakfast.
I think first of all that no matter who we are, we're all equal in the eyes of God, and I think being able to come together and talk as a community, but also pray. Because prayer is so powerful, but when we do it together, we actually put out there what we believe, and it also puts it out not just in word, but also in our minds and our hearts, and makes us kind of live and strive for that.
And also, I believe that when you do something like that concerning a prayer breakfast, a lot of times, it's sad to say, but it's a reality. On Sundays, we're segregated, at a big percentage, of our population is segregated. And I think that if we can find ways, to come together and find out that, we do pray alike, we do love and worship the same God, and it's very important. It allows us to unify. It allows us to come together and get with one accord. So sometimes it takes food to get people together. A lot of times you tell people, hey, we're going to feed you, they'll show up. Being in church, growing up in church, that's a true reality. But I think the most important thing, like Damon has said, prayer is so essential. Prayer is so relevant. It's so powerful. And, when we can come together, I believe that God will answer our prayers.
Okay. Now tell me the walk down of the prayer breakfast. Where is it going to be, and is anyone speaking? Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, we're going to have it at the Central Assembly of God on 1202 West Oxford. It starts at 8:30 in the morning, and essentially goes to 10:30, and it's going to be a traditional breakfast, pancakes, eggs, sausage, and so on, so we're going to have that. We'll also, of course, join in prayer there, and we have the chaplain from Vance Air Force Base, Holly Jones, out there speaking for us that morning.
Okay, very good. Now we also have, you all also have 2 other events on January the 13th, the march, and then you have the celebratory program. Let's talk about the march. Tell me the logistics of it, where will you begin and end, and if it rains, what's going to do?
Well, so it's set to start on January 13th. The march is scheduled to begin at 3 o'clock, and we are basically going to walk around the square downtown. We will start at the event center, and then we'll make our march right around the courthouse square. And sadly, if it's below freezing or if it's wet or snowing and so on, then we will probably actually just cancel it and then go ahead and just have our celebration inside the event center.
Okay. And let's talk about the outline of that celebratory program. What time does it begin, and what's the logistics? How's the program going to go?
We basically have a keynote speaker, and normally we'll have a colonel or someone from Vance Air Force Base as a representative of the base to speak. And we have a program of music selections. We have diversity awards that we give out. We also have a poster and essay contest. And the thing that we've really tried to do to enhance it and make it a little bit different is to make sure that we include the children more than we ever have. So we've done some very inclusionary things that will bring the children, give them more involvement in the celebration. So, you know, because children, they don't have the type of temperance that we have. They can't sit there for a long period of time. So throughout the celebration, you'll see where we have things that happen and that allows the children to be able to perform. I believe last year we had it to where there was kind of a talent aspect of it. A young lady had done a miming to a song. So we're trying to find different ways to do that. And then last but not least, at the end of it, we make sure that we feed the public. You know, we want to make sure that no one goes home hungry, you know, because a lot of people get out of church and they might not have the time to be able to go get a meal. So we want the citizens of the city of Enid to know that we will feed you, and also that the city of Enid is providing the food. So we thank the city of Enid for that provision.
Okay, pretty good. Now, I was looking at the program and it says the theme is Injustice Anywhere is a Threat to Justice Everywhere. Why choose this theme as the theme?
You know, we kind of started discussing it. We were just looking at the way our media has been presenting everything when we talked about it last year, and, you know, from discussions in politics as we had the elections going on and everything, and it was just hearing all the negativity people were putting out there. And then, of course, we've seen the protests in like South Carolina and so on. And the thing is, there's so many people that don't have a voice to speak up for themselves. And, you know, that was one thing that Martin Luther King Jr. always strove to give to people. I mean, so when he started working, he was always out there helping others. I mean, from situations like Rosa Parks to the sanitation workers in Memphis, which we are the AFS-CME is actually going to be donating a portrait of Martin Luther King Jr. to the Martin Luther King Jr. building downtown during that celebration as well. But it's the main reason we chose the theme was to give people that voice that they can use and actually help them partly with our commission, but also just kind of a representative for it.
Oh, no, you're fine. See, I believe it also reminds us that you can't have it both ways. You know, I mean, either you have justice or injustice. You may have justice for some or injustice for others, but in reality, even in that type of event, as long as injustice is a reality for some and not for others, it still exists. So either we have to make a choice as a nation, as a human population or people of the world. We want justice for everyone because God did create us, each and every one of us individually. He created us equal, and no matter what our backgrounds are, no matter what type of education we may have, no matter if we're privileged or underprivileged, we are yet created equal, no matter how anyone wants to accept it or reject that fact. And one thing we need to remember is that we all have to leave here one day, and we're all going to have to face our Maker. And Dr. Martin Luther King, what made him so great was the fact that he knew that the Lord was his lead, his guide, his inspiration, and he knew that if man wouldn't allow him to have justice, eventually he was going to get it regardless, in this life or thereafter. But while we're here on earth, it's very important that we realize that we as human beings, as people of God, as people in this world, no one is above anyone. No matter your race, your class of existence, education, no matter what it is, we have to realize that we all need one another. And without the love of God, there will be no true justice. So when I look at it, and like you have said, Damon, I look at the media and I watch the things that have went on, the different marches, the different protests. A lot of times I just sit there and watch and say, man, if everyone would just love the way God loves us, none of this would be happening. So love is the key.
And I think, you know, getting back to the, you know, sadly in life, sometimes justice just is not served. I mean, we just have to realize it's not always going to be fair. And, you know, the thing is, one of the beautiful things about Martin Luther King Jr. and the way he carried himself was no matter how bad it was, he accepted the consequences. You know, even if it was the most god-awful, insidious rule known to man, you know, based on things from not being able to sit in a certain portion of a bus or whatever, he took his punishment according to man's law, but he did what he thought was right. And, you know, he didn't throw a fit, didn't scream and yell and do anything crazy. He just said, you know what, I've chosen to break this law. I understand that you say that's what justice is, but I know what's fair, and I'm just going to live my life according to the way I know it should be.
Okay, we're going to shift gears here and talk about some more things that you guys are working on, the MLK Scholarship Program. Can you tell me a little bit about that program and how people can contribute to it if they want to?
The scholarship program was initially set up to be able to help a high school student that was coming out of high school, to help them further their education. And the criteria to receive that scholarship is to have a decent GPA, number one. And number two, also, there's a requirement for them to write an essay. And I believe since I've been on board, there's been at least $1,000 to $1,500 donated to a child that's coming out of high school for 2 semesters or 2 years, it may be 2 years, to help cover some of the expenses, their tuition expenses, or their books, or whatever it is that they needed to further their education. So each year, we set aside a certain amount of money that's been donated, and we give it to the Interracial Women's Club, and the Interracial Women's Club donates that money to the child that's chosen for that scholarship. And that's pretty much the logistics of it.
Okay. All righty. And how can they apply? How can they access the applications?
So, number one, we have a box at our high school, Enid High School, that keeps all scholarship applications there. They can also come by the library. McKinney Norwood always helps sponsor that, keeps the information. They can turn in their essays either at the counselor's office or with her if need be.
Okay. Well, I thank both of you for being with me today. And if you have a chance, January 6th, the community-wide prayer breakfast from 8:30 to 10:30. Then on January the 13th, the march starting at 3 p.m. and the celebratory program at 4 p.m. at the Central National Bank Center. Thank you for joining me today with City Connections. Have a great day.